Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 51-1 to give an update on the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. Madam Speaker, following directives of the two speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate, the Departmental Committee of Justice, Legal Affairs of the National Assembly and the Senate held meetings to consider the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. Madam Speaker, following our meetings, both committees received memoranda pursuant to a public invitation on public participation that took place in the sittings that were held in this House on the 12th of March 2021, 16th of March, and 17th of March 2021 to collect views of members of the public. Madam Speaker, the public interest participation attracted a lot of interest, and we received memorandum from citizens of this country, constitutional officers, including IEBC, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, Gender Commission, among many others. Thereafter, Madam Speaker, the committee undertook a joint retreat on the 19th of March 2021 to consider the issues that were raised during the public hearing. Madam Speaker, I want to report to the House that after considering the views that were received from the public, the joint committees identified a number of issues in 6 thematic areas that require in-depth consideration by the two committees. Therefore, Madam Speaker, the committees were not able to conclude their consideration of public views and writing of the report on the meeting that was held on the 19th of March 2021. Madam Speaker, bearing in mind that this is the very first time Parliament is processing a bill to amend the Constitution through a popular initiative under Article 257, it is the view of the joint committee that this matter should be given due consideration and also, where necessary, get assistance from experts on constitutional matters. Madam Speaker, the committee therefore agreed to adjourn its sittings and resume further sittings on the 26th, 30th, the 26th, 29th, and the 31st of March 2021. Madam Speaker, I want to report that this far, the meetings that have been held by the Joint Committee have been collegial and egalitarian, with a single purpose of midwifing this process forward. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the two committees, I want to assure the country that it is the intention and hope of this committee that this process will be midwifed, taking into account the fact that the two committees have one of the most experienced legal minds in this House. Therefore, Madam Speaker, this update is to seek an extension from the Speaker and request that the committee tables a report of the joint committees before this House on the 6th of April 2021. Madam Speaker, I want to assure the country and the promoters of the BBI that there is no intention whatsoever by the two joint committees to scuttle the BBI process, but we want to undertake a process, Madam Speaker, that can stand any constitutional test. Madam Speaker, let's bear in mind that any process that we undertake as Parliament is subject to the supervisory jurisdiction of the High Court. Madam Speaker, already arising from a similar process that was undertaken by the County Assembly of Tana River, the High Court has nullified the proceedings that took place before the County Assembly of Tana River. Therefore, I want to urge members to give this committee and Parliament an opportunity to interrogate the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 and go through a process that can withstand any constitutional challenge. So, Madam Speaker, we beg that time for presenting the joint report of the two committees be extended to the 6th of April 2021. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I send an intervention from Senator James Orengo.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I want to join the co-chairman of this joint committee in the the request that the committee be given more time to come up with a report. And Madam Speaker, if you may allow me to say so, nobody in this country should say that the role of Parliament is ceremonial. You cannot have a provision in the Constitution where Parliament is required to conduct business or a transaction for ceremonial purposes. The fact that Parliament is involved in this process, in fact, Parliament is one of the few institutions which is involved in the parliamentary process and in the popular initiative, and it is not for nothing. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I would want to urge those people who want to imagine that there's a crisis in the committee. There is nothing like that. If the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission can take a position on some matters, Parliament requires an answer to be given to that representation made by the IEBC. The Kenya National Bureau of Standards took certain positions which they made out to Parliament, and Parliament must answer those questions. Madam Speaker, I'm saying this because, you know, if you go to the record of the committee, to the report of the Committee of Experts, Madam Speaker, I want the chair to listen to me as I say this, because he's the one who brought up this issue. If you go to the Committee of Experts, the way they conducted their business, almost on every issue, on every article in the Constitution, there's literature backing the position that they took. The shame of the parliamentary process during the constitution-making process, which came to this Parliament, was that in our debates, if you go to the Hansard and the records, the public would not be able to understand the position taken by Parliament in 2010. And therefore, this time around, we should not allow a position where Parliament is going to give a report to this House, which treated our role as purely ceremonial. I want to assure you, Madam Speaker, that in the deliberations of the Joint Committee, and I was there was no single issue on which members of the committee differed, not even a single issue. We agreed on what to do, but generally said there are two components of the report that we are required to bring before Parliament. One is on the process. We must answer that question. Are we on the right track? Because it's a question that has arisen out there in the public, in the courts, and Parliament must speak to it. Secondly, is the issue of content. And even on that issue of content, Parliament must give an answer. And Madam Speaker, I always regret the fact that when we were turning this great nation to one-party system, you know, nobody was heard. Nobody was heard. In fact, if the matter had gone to the public and was informed by the public, the result would have been different. Now, members of the public have spoken, county assemblies have spoken, government institutions have spoken. Why do they expect Parliament just to become a voting machine? And we are an important arm of government. So I would plead for people who are making commentary on this process to be very, very patient with Parliament. We know the timelines. and we know our duty. Today we swore in a new senator, and she swore a constitutional oath. And we are aware of what that oath requires of us. And I hope that, in fact, when the deliberations come before the Senate, each single senator who wants to be heard should be heard on this very important question. And we have a very able chairman. And Chairman, I want to remind you that if you read the deliberations, either in committee or even the literature around constitutional making in America more than 200 years ago, it's those who said something that are remembered, not those who kept quiet. And those who said in Parliament or in the proceedings, whenever they took place, those who wrote about it like Hamilton and Madison, we quote them to do it today for purposes of constitutional interpretation and the thoughts that were there around the American Constitution. So I can tell you, next time we are going to interpret the Constitution, people will want to hear, when they were discussing this process, what did Senator Mutula or Senator Murkomen say about it? To help, because the Supreme Court has said in interpreting the Constitution, you must be contextual. You must take into account what happened when the process was going on. And therefore, I hope that this process is going to go to a successful conclusion, and nobody is opposing the process, but we must not be seen to be just be voting machines. I'm not ready to do that. Not this time, never.
Senator Orengo, you have not said whether you are supporting the extension, because the chair has crafted an extension.
Madam Speaker, you know, when I was urging you to extend, the chairman and the clerk were busy talking to you. That's why I pleaded, because my case was to the chair, but the chair was engaged.
Thank you, Senator. I know this committee was formed through a communication. It was not a motion. But because of the request for extension, we are now going a different way to see how we can assist in extending through everybody's participation. That's why we are allowing a few comments on it. Senator Murkomen or Nesma Skipchumba?
Madam Speaker, I rise to support the request by the chair for extension of time for the committee to deliberate on this very important matter. First of all, Madam Chair, it is in public domain that I am part of the group in this republic that think, or all still think, that this is not the time to amend our constitution. But I do not have the luxury, Madam Speaker, to watch the process and abstain from this very important process, because I have a constitutional duty to contribute to this process of amending our constitution. And therefore, since it's a matter of course, it's a must for us to participate in this process because others have initiated, it has come to this House, I want to thank the chair, and I want to thank Senator Orengo and the rest of the committee members for locating the place of Parliament and the place and the institution of the Senate in terms of its contribution to this process. I am of the school of thought that believes that the process and the content of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 is subject to deliberations by this House, and it's subject to the decision that is going to be made by this House. And we are not a rubber stamp. I believe, Madam Speaker, and I can see the changeover to the new speaker, to the Senator Maura, that, Madam Speaker, I believe that this House has the responsibility to advise the country before we talk about referendum as to whether it is right for us to go to a referendum with certain issues contained in that bill. And we have also a responsibility to ensure that there is a harmony of the Constitution, of the various provisions of the Constitution. And there are many examples that are being given to the committee, including by IEBC on the limitation of boundaries, among others. I believe that this House will have to give proper advice to the, those who are promoters of this bill as to whether or not we should be able to go to referendum with the bill as it is. Madam Speaker, I believe also that as a senator who has opposed amending of the Constitution at this point in time, that given a chance to participate in this process, and all of us participating in this House, without looking at this group or the other group, I believe that our contribution, including my contribution, may become of great value to the Senate and to the promoters of the amendment bill as to what kind of Kenya we're going to have. I have said this before informally, and I want to say on the floor of this House that when the day comes for deliberating and debating this very important motion, I hope no one will come to this House and say every senator has 2 minutes or 3 minutes. In fact, to the contrary, instead of using the 15 or 20 minutes we usually use here, we should actually increase the time to every senator to 30 minutes so that we can record our observations and our views and our thoughts, Madam Speaker, and now Mr. Speaker, on the concerns we have about this bill. I totally agree with Senate Minority Leader Senator Orengo that 50 years, 100 years to come, Kenyans will want to know what were the thoughts of Murkomen, what were the thoughts of Sakaja, what were the thoughts of Attorney General Emeritus, what were the thoughts of Wetangula, Senator Wetangula, in terms of amending this constitution. It is sad in the past that we've had as this House to rubber stamp things. I hope this is not one of them. We are going to rise above our sectarian political sides. We are, as a group of Hustler Nation, as always said, Mr. Speaker, that we are ready for a conversation, for consultation, for a win-win approach to this process of amending our constitution. And I don't think there is a better institution for achieving that win-win approach than the floor of this House. Mr. Speaker, I want to be very grateful that we have this opportunity to engage. And I believe and I promise that I hope we will close ranks across the aisle, sit down together, forget about the factions that are taking place on this side of the House of Jubilee, and sit down all of us to agree on the way forward on the amending the Constitution. On the question of amending the Constitution, we are discussing this issue, Mr. Speaker, at a time when we are also discussing about achieving gender parity. And since I didn't get the time to say this, I want to congratulate Senator Agnes Mudama, Mr. Speaker, for her election. I went to Machakos, campaigned against her. I stood firm and said I would prefer her son to be elected, who was called Ngengele, and then so that then he can come here and he can take care of his mother. But the people of Machakos say they want the mother. And that's how they ended up electing Senator Agnes Mudama and brought her here. Now that she's here, Mr. Speaker, and Senator Mutula Kilonzo should not be too excited because, as you know, Mr. Speaker, Senator Mudama was our candidate in 2017. We prepared her, we shaped her, all that happened. Finally, Wiper came to inherit her, Mr. Speaker, and finally delivered her to this House. And since that has happened, this House now becomes the first chambers of parliament since independence to achieve a third or a two-third gender rule. And I am glad that I belong to a party called Jubilee and UDA, Mr. Speaker, who became the pioneers insofar as the election, Madam Speaker, of the first women to this House. Senator Fatuma Dulo here, who is a member, who is the only senator elected in UDA, and the first senator woman from the north to be elected to this House, Mr. Speaker, comes from the UDA party, the Wheelbarrow party, Mr. Speaker. Senator Margaret Kamar, my neighbor, and Mr. Speaker, whom I am the senator of our mother, is, Mr. Speaker, comes from Jubilee and my neighbor. Senator Kihika comes from Jubilee, our friend, and Mr. Speaker, believes in the ideals of the Hustler Nation. They are all elected from this side. So it means if we can have more time to look at this constitutional amendment process, we can achieve a conversation that will ensure that this House achieves a third gender rule, but allows also the National Assembly to have an opportunity to elect women to that chamber that are also going to contribute to a third gender rule without really having over 100 people being nominated to parliament. That is the kind of conversation I look forward that we are going to have that conversation. And I want to ask Senator Agnes Mudama to work so hard in this remaining 1 year so that a woman, either herself or another woman, is elected from Machakos again to come here, so that we move forward. We don't move backwards in terms of election of women to parliament. And it is possible, it is achievable. And I want to ask those who are in the committee to be willing to listen to us, to have this conversation on how we can make this house gender compliant, but assist also National Assembly with the participation of Kenyans, not nomination of party leaders, to elect people to National Assembly that can achieve a third gender rule. I want to assure you, Senate Minority Leader, Senator Orengo, I know we disagree politically. You are on the other side of political aisle, but I want to assure you that should the opportunity come for us to have a conversation on this bill, I am willing to sit with you on the same round table to hammer a consensus, which is...
Senator Wango, tafadhali.
I believe I heard Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen, Senator, eminent lawyer, say that he belongs to Jubilee Party and UDA. Is that in order? No. I believe that under our constitution and under our laws, you are supposed to belong to only one party and not two. And if he actually belongs to two, can he tell us which party he prefers of the two? Because you cannot serve God and Mammon. You will either love one and hate the other.
Asante sana, Senator Wetangula.
You notice that when Senator Wako was on his point of order, Senator Murkomen was actually standing there gesturing. That is not part of our standing orders. The moment a member says point of order, the member on the floor takes a seat. And Senator Murkomen has been very good at this. I don't know why he's degenerating.
Mr. Speaker, Senator Wetangula used to raise very serious point of orders. I don't know when he degenerated to such minute issues on the floor of the House. Be it as it may, I think in all fairness, I can confidently say, Mr. Speaker, that I belong to both UDA and Jubilee Party. And this is the explanation. That, Mr. Speaker, I was elected to this House under Jubilee Party of Kenya. And, Mr. Speaker, in that Jubilee Party, we signed a coalition agreement before even my election with the UDA. So when I arrived at this House, I became the majority leader, and the UDA senator became the deputy majority leader. And we have worked together since then. So I am support of both parties. And there is no contradiction at all insofar as the same issue. In fact, if Senator Wako, I'm surprised the senior counsel has not read the relevant provisions of the Constitution that talks about you either belong to a party or a coalition of parties. And I'm part of that coalition that brings together Jubilee and UDA, Mr. Speaker. And I don't know why Senator Mutula is shaking his head, because, Mr. Speaker, he has been knocking the door. He signed a cooperation agreement with Jubilee, wants also to join UDA and Jubilee, Mr. Speaker. So he should understand and appreciate that coalition. When I talk about I belong to the Jubilee coalition includes the United Democratic Alliance, which is the Wheelbarrow Party, which is the ASLA movement, Mr. Speaker, which I'm very proud to be part and parcel of that movement. I was concluding by saying, Mr. Speaker, and which, by the way,
Senator Orengo.
Mr. Speaker, the issue that has been raised by Senator Wako is very critical and is foundational on how our multi-party democracy operates. You can be a member of a political party which belongs to a coalition, For example, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Mutula Kilonzo is a member of the Jubilee Party, which is a member of a coalition. No, he's a member of WIPA, but he can be a member of NASA coalition. He can be a member of a Jubilee coalition. But you cannot be a member of two distinct parties, because Jubilee is a distinct party. And Senator Fire Orengo will tell you that he's a member of KANU, but he's not a member of Jubilee. I would dare Senator Murkomen repeat what he's saying on the floor, that is a member of Jubilee Party and a member of UDA, and be ready to take the consequences. I dare him say that he's a member of UDA Party and a member of the Jubilee Party. Not a sympathizer. I dare him say that, because then what follows, for good order, can be taken at the appropriate forum.
Senator Murkomen, unaweza kumalizia?
Senator Orengo, I can say I'm a member of UDA without any consequence. Nobody can dare to bring anything against me. It's only Senator Maura and the other nominated senators they like harassing. But be that as it may, I am a member of Jubilee coalition, where UDA is a member, and I'm a total sympathizer of UDA party, together with all its philosophy and manifesto, and the Hustler and the Wheelbarrow movement, Mr. Speaker, and I also believe in Tuko Pamoja, which is bringing people together. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, so that I don't take a long time, in conclusion, I'd like to say that I was telling Senator Orengo, which was the most important part of my communication, that although we disagree politically, and we are in the, Mr. Speaker, Senator Orengo may be happy to listen to this. Senator Orengo, you know, ODM party, after ODM party, it's only ODM party and the sympathizers of the Wheelbarrow movement who enjoy the majority of this house. On your side, it's ODM which calls the shots. And I've always said, even though I disagree with the former Prime Minister, I have requested the parties that work in the NASA coalition or NASA coalition to respect ODM. Because, Mr. Speaker, I did my arithmetic the other day. I realized that Fort Kenya has one member of Senate. WIPA has only 3 members of Senate elected. KANU has only 2. And Mr. Speaker, Amani has only 2, but 1 is already ODM sympathizer. So I respect ODM party as the second largest party in this house. But if you bring, Mr. Speaker, the Hustler movement here, it's only ODM and Hustler movement who can think about one single party majority in this house. And so, even though our ideologies differ, even though we do not agree, and we will have a fierce competition next year, I believe on the constitutional review process, and I promise Senator Orengo, if there will be a time that will be asked to sit down on the round table to achieve a win-win approach, so that we go to the uncontested referendum, to sit on the round table to agree on issues, I promise that those of us who on this side subscribe to the Hustler ideology are going to bring ourselves to that table, and we are ready and willing to hammer and discuss the issues that are there for us to move forward as one united country and a one team. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Asante sana. Nafikiri huo ni mchakato ambao utaendelea. Sisi ni wanachama wa Jubilee, chama cha Jubilee. Nafikiri miungano ya kisiasa, mirengo ya kisiasa inaendelea kuibuka, lakini